We are live with a brand new training, an incredibly juicy one, because today we're talking about are Facebook ads done as a service for social media marketing agencies? Is this the end of Facebook ads agencies? There's a lot that has changed in the SMMA space. A lot of services have come up that have insane potential. And my commitment to you is you're going to be able to walk away from this live training that I'm doing for you exclusively, okay? You're going to be able to walk away with tangible strategies that are going to set you apart in the marketplace of today, of 2022, that are going to help you build what I call a monopoly agency. A monopoly agency is a concept that I talk about quite a lot in my YouTube channel, which are basically agencies that are not competing against other agencies. The vast majority of the agencies you see in the agency space nowadays are competing in terms of price, in terms of services, in terms of different niches, right? They're perfectly competitive. And Peter Thiel actually talks about this whole concept in his book 0 to 1 about the big difference between monopolies and perfectly competitive companies. And we don't want to be a perfectly competitive agency, another Facebook ads agency, because if you're going to do that, go ahead and get in the queue. So I'm going to show you the tangible strategies you can use to set yourself apart by picking a service that is actually rooted in the current digital landscape of today. And that will actually set you apart. So very excited for this. I've gone ahead and prepared a presentation for you, and I'm going to be walking you through this pretty in-depth analysis and this pretty in-depth document that I've put together for you. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it because I want to keep it short, concise, and juicy for you guys. So our Facebook ads saturated for SMMA in 2022 as a service. Now, the first thing that you want to keep in mind is when it comes to running a social media marketing agency, you're going to have essentially what we're doing is we're delivering a service for companies. Okay. Now, one of the things that I talk about a lot is the e-com space. So going into the e-com space and offering these services to online brands that are selling things online, right? And helping them grow using paid ads, right? So I just want to clear that up for the people joining us who are a little bit early in their journey. Complete beginners. I'm guessing that's probably most of you guys here. So SMMA is a constantly evolving space and platforms come and go. Knowing what platforms are the most profitable for our clients and offering those can make a huge difference when it comes to converting prospects into clients. All right. For the longest time, Facebook ads has been the king of social media marketing agency services, making up the flagship services for most agencies out there. But is it still the case right now? Is it still the case? What do clients actually want? Here's what we need to know. All right. So I'm going to be talking about five core concepts that you need to know. And please, my recommendation to you, right, my recommendation to you to get the most value out of this training is to not try to jump around the video, because there's going to be a lot of points that I make at the start, especially if you're watching this on the replay. There's going to be a lot of points that I make at the start that are going to be conducive to the points that I make at the end, right? So it's all going to come together like a really nice puzzle, and we're going to have a lot of fun here. So the first thing that you need to understand, right, a move towards content-based ad algorithms. So one of the things that is incredibly vital that you internalize as an agency is that we're not romantic about our service. The agencies that essentially die may have a few good months, may have a few good years, but have absolutely no long-term and have no longevity are the agencies that actually marry their service. What does marrying their service look like? Right? What marrying your services look like is your service is your offer, right? So you call yourself a TikTok ads agency. You call yourself a Facebook ad agency, right? And so you've made essentially your service your identity as an agency. And the problem with this is that as an agency, our number one concern is the results of our client and the growth of our clients, especially as a conversion-led agency, right? So we're essentially going for conversions. We're not doing social media growth. Essentially we're making them more money, right? And so the reason why I say that is because if you identify yourself with a service too much and you're romantic about our service, that's not going to be conducive to the growth of our client across a long time frame, because platforms are going to come and go. And so the agencies that have true longevity are the agencies that do not identify per se with a platform, and the agencies that are not romantic about a specific service, but the agencies that can actually identify the platforms that can make our clients most money and be able to adapt and be very agile to switch to those platforms. Okay. One of the things that I've done from the very, very get-go and the very start of my agency is create an agency that is very agile. All right. If tomorrow Facebook had literally disappeared from the face of the earth, I would be able to switch to TikTok ads, or we're doing a bit of TikTok ads, but to Pinterest ads, right? Within a matter of hours, or days or hours, right? And so having that agility is massive. But I digress. More and more, Facebook is minimizing ingenuity from the ad running process and involving the algorithm more for targeting decisions, right? So this is the false key that you need to understand when it comes to truly understanding whether Facebook ads is saturated and whether it's not, and it still has longevity, right? So you need to understand that just looking at what's happening with Facebook ads right now, right? Facebook, well, Meta, as a company, is removing is removing more than ever. They're removing the ingenuity of the actual media buyer, of the actual digital marketer, right? When it comes to the targeting, when it comes to essentially media buying, right? And they're involving the algorithm way more for that, right? So if you are, for those of you who have been running ads for the past few months, you will have noticed that a lot of the targeting methods, a lot of the targeting possibilities that we had available to us have actually been removed. And nowadays it's less about the targeting and the media buying, and it's way more about the content, right? Because if the algorithms are if Meta as a company is removing so many options from the media buyer for the targeting, right? The other part of the equation to have really solid ads is the content side of things, right? Is the copy as well as the actual video creative or the image creative. And so they're doing this because they believe that the algorithm can make better targeting decisions. And instead, they're forcing the advertiser, to focus more on the creative element, creatives and copy. Okay. So we know that. That's the first thing that we need to understand. I really want to unpack this and make sure that you understand this, right? So the first thing that we know from Facebook ads right now is that Meta as a company is removing the as much ingenuity from the media buying side of things as possible, right? So they're letting the algorithm do most of the job because they generally want the advertisers to make as much money as possible, right? So if the media buying is almost outsourced to the algorithm now, the only thing that's really left for the marketer, okay, and the marketers that truly succeed are the marketers that have a really good grasp on how to make ads hit on a creative level, right? Because that's what we can influence the most right now. Why? Because the rest is outsourced to the algorithm, right? So understanding the current creative landscape is absolutely key because that's the one thing that we can control right now, right? Facebook is a much more seasoned advertising platform. So knowing that Facebook is a much more seasoned advertising platform, right? And knowing that we have to understand the current creative landscape, what we can do, right? And the people that I'm seeing have true success with Facebook ads right now, especially to a cold audience, are people that look at what is working insanely well from a creative standpoint on platforms like TikTok, and they apply it to the Facebook algorithm that has been working tremendously well. And they apply it to the Facebook algorithm. That's what's been working tremendously well. So let me explain, right? They understand that the algorithm is doing most of the targeting, right? And then because they understand that the creatives is pretty much everything now, right? They go ahead and look at what's working from a creative standpoint, and they use what is working really well on the TikTok and the Reel plane, right? And so they take a lot of the ideas from TikTok, fast-paced content, vertical content, and they go ahead and apply that to Facebook ads. So my point here is if you adapt, right? If you see these changes happen, if you adapt, Facebook still has massive potential when it comes to conversions, simply because from a just maturity standpoint, I truly believe that Facebook is way more mature than platforms like Snapchat ads or TikTok ads, right? So on that front, if you're able to really understand what is happening with Facebook, from that front, you're actually way better off staying with Facebook, right? Only if you understand what is happening. So if you can master the creative component, understanding that platforms like TikTok, right, have that dialed in, right? And you can take those lessons from TikTok, right, and the content that is working there and apply them to a more seasoned algorithm like Facebook, you're still going to have massive success, right? So that's really the first thing that you need to understand, that Facebook ads will still be diving deep into a few other points to really find out whether Facebook ads still makes sense as a service for an agency, right? But the first key thing that you need to understand is that it's not so much that Facebook ads is dead, is that the people that are truly thriving are adapting to understanding that we're moving to more towards a content-based ad algorithm, right? Not so much a media buying, targeting ad algorithm, but more to a content-based algorithm. And the people that can adapt are still going to have massive success with Facebook ads. Okay. Now, that's the first thing you need to understand, the fact that it's moving towards there, right? The second thing you need to understand is that you need to solve, if you are going to stick with Facebook ads, okay, which you could have still a lot of success with, if you're still going to stick with Facebook ads, you need to solve the targeting issues, right? This is the main reason why most people don't pick Facebook ads nowadays. Simply because they have, they cannot deal with the targeting issues, right? And so what I found, right, to deal with the targeting issues is that the changes I'm seeing actually make a lot more sense and the new targeting methods are actually much healthier, right? And so to unpack this, let me explain. Before we used to have pixel tracking, right? Before we used to have pixel tracking, what that meant is that you could install a pixel on a website, okay? You can install a pixel on a website and that pixel would track your activity on a website, right? Now, what iOS 14 did is it basically gave you the ability to people to block those pixels, right? To block that third-party tracking, all right? So pixel tracking doesn't work very well nowadays. I mean, there's no secret about that, right? But the alternative I've actually seen work way better than Pixel ever did when it was thriving and there were no limitations on Pixel, okay? And so essentially, the reason why I say that, right, is because the other alternative is server-based tracking, which is conversion APIs. And you can do this from within the Facebook Ads Manager, right? So you can set up conversion APIs. And I found that this type of tracking is way healthier, right? And it's much more effective. What's the main difference? Pixel tracking, that data belonged to a browser, right? However, conversion APIs is server-based tracking. So we actually own that data as the person who owns the server of our website, right? So when you set up conversion APIs, that data we own because we own that server, right? We own that piece of real estate within the internet. Make sense? And so that is where the tracking is moving, and conversion APIs makes it so much easier to track and in a much healthier way, because that tracking, as I said, right, it's server-based tracking, and so it belongs to the person that actually owns the website. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to understand. The fact that the second thing you need to understand, the fact that this whole talk about targeting issues, et cetera, if you know how to do it, I truly believe we're moving to a world where the sort of tracking we're going to be seeing is a much better tracking, because pixel tracking wasn't the most ideal. Okay, and setting up conversion APIs makes for way more accurate tracking than before, and this is what we're seeing left and right with our clients as well, right? So yes, a lot of people are lazy and they don't want to learn about conversion APIs. They just want to rely on the old methods, and again, these people will not thrive, right? But the people that are truly crushing it are the people that can set up these conversion APIs, okay? That can understand what a conversion API does, and can understand how it's just way better than pixel tracking. All right. So hopefully you guys are seeing that. First, I'm talking about the more technical stuff, right? Like really diving deep into the topic of, is Facebook ads even worth it? Like what is this whole talk about Facebook ads not being a good service, right? So I'm diving into the technical, and then I'm going to talk more agency specific, right? So first, service specific, technical, then agency specific. And if you don't have the bandwidth to really stay with me for another 10, 15, 20 minutes, then you're probably not going to be able to build an agency. It takes a bit of focus. So having said that, I'm going to take a little bit of a sip of water. It is hot here in Madrid. I'm blasting the AC, and still I get fired up. I also do have two massive lights right on top of me. Nice, didn't know about server-based tracking. Yeah, this is juicy. Yes. And I believe it's going to get a bit juicier as well. So, all right, let's get back into it. I'm going to go ahead, block this guy. Here we go. Cool. So, Facebook has great market adoption. All right. That's the third point that we need to really dive deep into. So when it comes to sales, there are often two hurdles, right? So this is more agency specific. We talked a little bit about The maybe more boring stuff, the more technical stuff, this is more agency specific, which is great, especially if you don't know much about Facebook ads. Okay, but just understanding this and talking about this on a sales call with a potential prospect will put you with a prospect will put you ahead of 99% of agency owners and agencies out there. Anyways, Facebook ad has great market adoption, right? So it seems like I'm making a case for Facebook here, but I will polarize it a little bit towards the end. But what you need to understand when picking a service for your agency is that when it comes to sales, there are often two hurdles, right? The first hurdle that a prospect must go through, right? So there's two hurdles to a sale, and a prospect has to jump over those two hurdles to get to that sale and pay you money, right? So the first hurdle that you need to jump over is the question: do I want or need this? Right? Do I really need this for my business? Right? And then the second hurdle is: are these people the best people in the space to deliver the service? Right? And so what you don't want to do as a salesperson, what is very hard, is to get someone to jump over that first hurdle, right? Because there's an element of them having to go through that paradigm and realize that they need this, right? There's only, I mean, unless you have a long sales process. So, I mean, you can get someone to jump over a first hurdle, right? But it just means a much longer sales process. When you're on a sales call, right? Ideally, you want to speak to people that have already jumped over that first hurdle, that already see the value in Facebook ads, right? And so we want to primarily focus on the second hurdle. There's no other ad platform that comes close to the market adoption of Facebook. The vast majority of brands are already sold on it because they have most likely seen their competitors run ads on that platform, right? So they're scrolling through their IG, and because they follow things that they're passionate about, and they probably build a brand around the thing that they're passionate about, they're probably getting the ads from their competitors, or maybe they're spying on their competitors using the ad library, right? So the reason why I say this is because knowing that we need to focus on that second hurdle, are these people the best people to deliver the service, right? We want people that have already jumped over that first hurdle. Do I need Facebook ads? Yes, the answer is yes. I'm seeing my competitors do Facebook ads. I'm not doing Facebook ads, right? So they're already bought into that service, right? And so if we can focus on the second hurdle, the sales are going to be way easier, right? Especially if you do the things that I talk about, like, for example, focusing on a specific sub niche, right? Because then you set yourself apart, and there's no other person that does ads for apparel and fashion brands using the specific process that you've determined, right? I talk about this, way more in depth on my mentorship, but understand that we want to make sure that we focus on that second hurdle. Okay. If you look at other platforms like Pinterest ads, TikTok ads, give it a few years, but it still doesn't have the same sort of market adoption that Facebook has, right? Facebook, without a doubt, has the best market adoption as an advertising platform, right? In fact, the same people that created the Facebook advertising platform are creating the TikTok advertising platform, all right? The same software engineer. So, Facebook still, people understand, even the TikTok, C-level people understand that Facebook is the go-to advertising platform. Like, they have the market adoption, right? So let's just copy what they've done. The same with that, Instagram copied TikTok with Reels. I guess they wanted to get back at them, right? So they literally hired the same people that did the advertising platform for Facebook for TikTok. But I digress. Understand that, right? Understand that you actually want to pick something that has market adoption. It is easier to convince someone of something that already has market adoption than propose this completely different thing that is coming to the market. There are going to be, there's a great book called Crossing the Chasm, right? And they talk about the different types of customers. There's always going to be a segment of people that are early adopters. Always a certain percentage of people that are always likely and wanting to try things before anyone, right? But most people, the vast majority of consumers, are late adopters, meaning they adopt things when they've seen a case study for it, right? They've seen other people do it, right? They've seen people actually have success with it. Make sense? So, that is that great market adoption. Your service is not your offer. That's the fourth thing that we need to talk about, right? So, first point, second point was all about Facebook ads and the technicalities of understanding what you need to do if you want to make Facebook ads work. The third and fourth point here is all about agency, okay? And understanding that your service should never be your offer. So as much as we're talking about services, right? Regardless of all this talk around picking a service like Facebook ads, this should not even be top of mind when starting your agency and thinking of getting results, right? And if it is, you're doing something wrong. Your biggest selling point will never be your service. Your service is just simply a vehicle. Your service is just simply a vehicle. We're getting the service is it's just what we're using to get people from point A to point B. But that's not what they care about, right? What they care about is their point B, right? The vehicle that you use to get there is not as much of a selling point. Make sense? Your biggest selling point will come down to you picking a specific sub niche within e-commerce, understanding their space and that space like no one else, understanding their brand and that space like no one else, right? Like, for example, the top brands are doing in that space, the sales funnels they're using, the offers they're promoting, right? Picking a specific sub niche within e-commerce and understanding it like no one else. Having a specific process to results within the apparel fashion space, within the nutrition space, within the vegan space, within the sustainability space, within the Black-owned business space, within the list goes on, right? It's just like, for example, if you ask 3 different nutrition coaches what the best way of losing weight is, one will tell you the paleo diet, another one will tell you intermittent fasting, and another one will tell you keto, right? They all work. Okay? But at the end of the day, the end result is what people care about, right? And so it's not so much, no one wakes up, right? No one who wants to lose weight wakes up and goes, oh, I really want to try the keto diet, right? Or I really want to do keto without any information on keto, right? No, they go, I need to lose weight, right? And then they go for the person that they resonate with more because maybe they understand their situation better, maybe because they focus on that type of person. Now, the vehicle is secondary. I'm not saying the vehicle is not important, right? There's going to be certain e-com brands that prefer an agency that does TikTok ads over Facebook ads, because maybe Facebook ads they already have handled, right? I'm not saying, there's never going to be a talk about the actual service and about the actual vehicle. I'm just saying that is by far secondary, right? And I've seen it time and time again on my sales calls. That is always secondary. In fact, we only really talk about our vehicle and the service that we are going to use to achieve that outcome for them at the very end of the sales call. Oftentimes they're already sold. Oftentimes they're already moving forward. Oh, what platforms are you going to do? Are you going to do Google ads in the end? No, we don't really need to do Google ads right now. Oh, cool. Right. So at the end of the day, it's just about making sure that we have a specific process of results that gets the outcome, right? That's what they care about. And so that is why I'm saying your biggest selling point will always come down to picking a specific sub niche within e-commerce, understanding their brand and that space like no one else. Okay. So that is that for the 4th point. Now, again, another point for Facebook ads, and this is not a pitch deck for Facebook ads. I'm just really, just destroying a lot of the limited beliefs around Facebook ads and it being saturated, simply because, a lot of it is just not rooted on the truth. Now, there's no doubt that there are other services that may catch up to Facebook ads, and there are 100% other services that you could very easily sell. Like, for example, I've got students doing TikTok ads, crushing it, right? I've got students doing email marketing, crushing it, right? So there's a myriad of different services that you can pick. Hopefully you can, one of the things that you can get away from this training is that it's not so much about the service, right? But understanding that things like, for example, your service is not your offer. Things like, focusing on the second hurdle. Things like, how to actually overcome the tracking problems that most people, that most people really struggle with. So that's the people that truly get value away from the training are the people that take away kind of the underlying messages here. But also, I think you can take away some of the more tangible strategies. So that is the 4th point. Now onto the 5th point, which is one of the things that, and this is coming from someone whose agency, like, we do TikTok ads, we do email marketing, we've done Google ads, we've done SEO, right? Not all at the same time, because I truly believe that you need a flagship service, right? And our flagship service has, in full transparency, has always been Facebook ads, right? And that may change. We're really experimenting a lot with YouTube ads. YouTube ads are working really well. But specifically for different niches, for example, coaches, YouTube ads works amazingly. For other industries, not as much, especially for the e-com, really just the heavy e-com niches, YouTube ads, meh, right? But one of the reasons why I think Facebook excites me right now, while most people are just completely, the opposite, is because I truly believe that Facebook is gonna, is leading the Meta VR and AR race with advertising, right? So in my opinion, I actually think the future looks bright for Facebook/Meta, because I truly believe that if they can at least place themselves in a really good spot or become number one in the VR and AR space, they, future looks bright for them, right? And so I actually had a recent student interview with Gabby. I don't know if you guys saw that. If you didn't, it's literally the previous video to this. But she is doing augmented reality ads, and she's absolutely loving it, and she's having great success with it, right? So my point here is, I think, and one of the things that she mentioned to me was, a lot of people are talking about like leaving Facebook, and I'm all about like, Facebook in the Web 3.0 space as well as the meta space, it's just going to crush it, right? Because they do have a lot of ecosystems around that, and if they can position themselves as the go-to advertising platform for those spaces as well, I think, the future looks bright. So keeping that in mind as well, one of the things that I think it is absolutely vital if you're looking to have longevity as an online entrepreneur and not just be, just a one-hit wonder like most online entrepreneurs, where they make, they have one like breakthrough year where they make a bunch of money, maybe in like some quick fad, and like crypto or something like that, or like NFTs, and then they just completely fall off. If you're looking to have true success, right, and have longevity and not be stressed out and not have like 1 year where you were an online entrepreneur and then the rest, of your lifetime having to go down the 9-to-5 route again, you really want to make sure that you stay, you consistently obviously look at your boots and focus on the present moment and in the current landscape, but also see what's coming, right? So you can adapt very quickly. And that's really one of the key things, and one of the major differences that I see with people that have true success for a long time in the space and the people that don't, right? The people that don't, they don't really adapt. They stay very complacent, or they stay very set on their ways of doing things, right? The people that have true success, they adapt very quickly. So yeah, that's a little rant on adapting and really seeing where the world is heading. I truly believe that the metaverse, VR and AR is a reality. It's something that's definitely going to happen. I don't know about you guys, but I spend most of my day looking at a screen, looking at a computer, building my business from a computer. So it only makes sense that it becomes more immersive. And I think that's where we're heading. And I think, I think it'll take a few years, right? But having this in mind and understanding that that's where we're heading, I think the future also looks bright for Facebook. And I think getting, constantly just adapting in that platform and that ecosystem is going to really help you adapt to what comes next, and what comes after social media, essentially. So I think that is that for this training. So a little bit of a few concluding points, and I've really just boiled it down to the main things here. So the simple answer for me is no. Facebook ads are here to stay, but one must adapt, right? And that is without saying that other services like TikTok ads, Pinterest ads, Snapchat ads, Google ads, email marketing are not, are not insanely valuable and are not a possibility, right? But the second point here, really just drives everything home, which is regardless of the service you pick, your service is not your offer. It's just simply a vehicle, and hopefully you take that away from this live training as well. I think the third point that I would add in here is take also a few of the strategies that I gave regarding content-based ad algorithms and solving the targeting issues. I think if you understand that we're heading towards that as an advertiser, if I look at if someone tells me like you have to paint the ideal advertiser in the next 6 months, I'm painting someone who has a really good solid grasp and understanding of what works in terms of content, because these platforms are removing more and more the human touch from the targeting side of things, and also someone that really understands the targeting side of things, right? How to set up conversion APIs, how that whole ecosystem works. So yeah, I think those are the main points that I wanted to drive home. And with that being said, I think that was a good live. I'm gonna take a little sip of water. And drop your comments. I'm seeing exciting comments. Having a virtual immersive office sounds so exciting to me. Not gonna lie, we might have that in a few years. I think for sure. I mean, inevitable. the same way that I go into my office every single morning and I get to work on my computer. I think I don't think it's going to be like the whole day you're immersive. I think it's going to be like a few core things. I wouldn't want to be like the whole day immersive. The same way that I don't want to be looking at my screen the whole day. But I think there are certain things that I think it would improve. Like instead of being on a Zoom call, I would much rather be, not on a Zoom call and have it more immersive, right? Because you're still, regardless of anything, you're still talking to people, right? So why not have it a little bit more immersive? Do you think TikTok Ads Agency could work? Certainly, and I've got students crushing it in that space as well. So yeah, yes. The answer is yes, and there's a few videos on my channel you can check out on that topic. That is fire. How much for your course? Ready, Bobo, Kevin. So if you're still watching this, I don't offer a course. I offer a mentorship, and those for me are two very different things, right? A course is like the typical thing where you have like thousands of students like going through the exact same process. There's no personalization. There's no one-to-one human interaction. I truly believe that one size does not fit all. Every student is unique in their own way. You've got your own strengths, Kevin. You've got your own weaknesses, and so mentorship is really the way to go. If you look at history over time, if your dad was a shoemaker, you were a shoemaker. Why? Because you could shadow that person. And so, although that's scalable, I don't really mind because I've got my agency and my e-com brands, right? And so I have mentorship, private mentorship, personalized. There's a lot of one-to-one interaction, and that has allowed us to have the high success rate in the industry, right? Because we take fewer but higher quality students, right? We go ahead and we have proven systems and then the personalization element. So if you want to hear more about that, though, there's going to be this typically a link in the description, I think, where you can book in a call with me and the team, and we can see if it'd be a good fit. Nice session. Thanks, Jaime. Thank you. Do you think getting Facebook ad certified is relevant anymore? I think I've done videos on literally every topic. I do have a second channel called School of Ecom. You guys can search that on YouTube, and I literally talked about this topic. Like are certifications necessary at all as an agency owner or someone looking to start an agency? I think that's fine. I mean, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for this great value session, Jaime. Will this be recorded? Most likely yes. I'll probably leave it up on my channel. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here, guys. I appreciate you all for coming. And if you want a copy of this is only because I'm going live on my Facebook community as well. So if you are on YouTube and you want to join my it's completely free Facebook community, I'm doing lives there. I mean, if you enjoy this, then you're going to really enjoy the lives that I'm doing pretty much every single day there. So if you want to join that, there's going to be a link in the description, right? If you're watching this on the Facebook community and you want access to this document right here, all right, then just go ahead and comment me, and I'll personally DM you with the link to the document, all right? So I will see you guys on the next live training. Peace.